Hello children, welcome to my channel Geography Made Simple. Today I shall be taking up the 5th chapter of Geography of Class 10 of CBSE curriculum, Minerals and Energy Resources. I shall be using my notes to teach you. Link of the notes is in the description box below. Also, as always, I have used maps, pictures and diagrams to explain the concept for better understanding and recall. Children, this is a new channel. If you like my video and want me to make more such videos, please do support my channel. Also, those of you who are visiting my channel for the first time, do check out my videos on previous chapters of class 10. So, let's begin. Children, let's start with a brief synopsis of the chapter Minerals and Energy Resources. In this chapter, we will be doing the definition and the importance of minerals in our daily life. Since minerals are naturally occurring substances, we also will study where we can find the minerals on the basis of their uses and the chemical and physical properties. They are classified into metallic, non-metallic and energy minerals. We will be studying about the classification as well as distribution of various categories of minerals. Last but not the least, we will also be doing the conservation purposes and measures of minerals and energy resources. Children, we cannot imagine our life without minerals. Right from the food that we eat, it has minerals, though only 0.3% of the total food intake, but they are so important to absorb the 99.7% of the foodstuff that we utilize. Other than that, even the everyday use items, whether your books, your pens, your utensils, the houses that we live in, the mode of transports, everything is made of metal. Metal is extracted from the minerals. So, in a way, minerals are very important in our day-to-day activity and for the very existence. But what is a mineral? Minerals are homogeneous, naturally occurring substances with definite internal structure. They are found on the Earth's crust, which is the uppermost surface of the Earth. The crust or the rock of the Earth contain one or more minerals and they are known as ores. However, it is also important that mineral content of the ore should be sufficiently high to make its extraction commercially viable. Though there are 2000 minerals which have been identified by the geologists, but only a few of them are abundantly available in the rocks. Metals are also extracted from these minerals only after proper refinement. Children, I am teaching you with the notes that I have prepared. You have an access to these notes through the link in the description box. Now let's study, since the minerals are found on the Earth's surface or the crust. So let's study where exactly we can find the minerals. The three most important types of rocks which we have studied till now are igneous, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. Igneous rocks are formed because of the volcanic eruption. Sedimentary rocks are formed because of the deposition of sediments in layers, and any physical or chemical changes with immense heat or pressure on existing rocks result in the formation of metamorphic rocks. Minerals are found in these three types of rocks. Apart from that, the weathering or the erosion on the surface of the earth also results in availability of minerals as the residual substances on the eroded surface of the earth. Alluvial deposits and ocean water and ocean beds are also storehouse of minerals. Let's see how minerals occur in each of these places. In igneous rocks, what happens whenever there is a volcanic eruption and the lava or the gases are forced through the cavities in the earth, then what happens? Even the minerals accompany them, and sometimes they cool and solidified in these crevices and the faults and the joints. The smaller deposits of minerals are known as, suppose these are minerals, so smaller deposits which are found in the igneous rocks are known as veins, And the lodes are the huge deposits of minerals which are found in the metamorphic or the igneous rocks. In case of sedimentary rocks, what happens? Minerals deposits occur trapped between the layers or beds of sediments. They are concentrated in horizontal strata. So minerals like gypsum, potash, sodium, etc. are found in the sedimentary rocks. In case of weathered surface rock, what happens? The decomposition of the surface rocks and the subsequent washing away of the soluble constituents sometimes leave the residual mass of weathered materials containing the minerals. So bauxite is a mineral which is found in the weathered surface rock materials. Rivers, when they flow, they also deposit alluvial or minerals along their way on the valley floors and the foothills. They are known as placer deposits. See, when the river is flowing, the flow of the river slows down in this bend on the meander slopes. So what happens? The sediments are deposited here along with the minerals because the river is not able to carry forward the sediments and the minerals. Similarly, on the river beds here, wherever there is a little depression on the riverbed, the sediments and the minerals are deposited along the riverbed. Also, the ocean beds and the ocean water are huge storehouses of many minerals like common salt, magnesium, bromine, manganese, etc. And when we talk about the alluvial deposits or the deposition by the rivers, we all have heard the example of Suvarnarekha river, which has derived its name only because it is said that the remnants of gold is found in the riverbed of Suvarnarekha river. Other minerals which are found in riverbeds or the alluvial deposits are gold, silver, tin, platinum, etc. In India, the minerals are very unevenly distributed. Most of the mineral deposits are found in the peninsular India and the Chota Nagpur region. Petroleum and natural gases are found in areas of Gujarat, Maharashtra area and some parts of Assam. The alluvial deposits or the North Indian plains are devoid of any kind of mineral deposits. Let's study about the classification of minerals. Minerals are not just metals, they are non-metal as well as energy resources also. Under the metallic mineral category are the minerals which contain iron content, are known as ferrous minerals, for example iron ore, manganese, nickel, cobalt, etc. The non-ferrous metals are those which do not have iron like copper, lead, tin, bauxite, etc. And then there are precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, etc. The non-metallic minerals do not have metal content in them like mica, salt, potash, sulfur, granite, marble, limestone, etc. Then there are energy resources which support various industries and are fuel and the heat requirement. They are conventional and non-conventional. The coal, petroleum, natural gas, electricity, these are all the conventional energy resources which have been used from very ancient time also. And then the new energy resources like nuclear energy, solar, wind power, biogas, tidal energy or geothermal energy resources were also developed subsequently, and they are known as the new or the non-conventional energy resources. In the subsequent clips, we will be studying about the distribution of various minerals in India under the metallic and the ferrous category. We will be studying about the distribution of iron ore and manganese. India has rich reserves of ferrous minerals like iron ore and manganese, and they account for 3/4 of the total value of the metallic minerals extracted. They provide a strong base for the development of metallurgy industry. Iron ore forms a basic it's a basic mineral and it provides a backbone for various industrial activities also. Magnetite is the finest iron ore with a content of 70% of iron in it, and this has an excellent magnetic property, and this is extremely valuable in electrical industry also. The next category of iron ore is hematite with a little less iron content of 50 to 60%. But this is the most important iron ore in terms of quantity used. So what are the belts where the iron ore is abundantly found in India? So states where iron ore is mostly found are Orissa, Jharkhand, then Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, then we have Maharashtra, Goa, and then Karnataka. So kind of this belt has good iron ore deposits in India. So we'll study about each zone separately now. The Orissa Jharkhand belt. In Orissa, hematite is a very good iron ore, a good quality iron ore, which is found in the Mayurbhanj and Kendujhar districts. These two areas, these two mines are important mines of Orissa. Then Goa is in Goa in Jharkhand, Goa and Noamundi in Jharkhand. In Bastar district, then we come down to Chhattisgarh, Baladela range of Bastar district. There are 14 such deposits of iron ore, and they are exported also from the nearest port, which is the Vishakhapatnam, and from here iron ore is exported to Southeast Asian countries of Japan and South Korea. In Karnataka, Bellary, Tumakuru, Chikmagaluru. These are the mines of Karnataka. Kudremukh is 100% export unit, and the nearest port where it is sent through a pipeline as in the form of slurry is Mangaluru for further export. In Maharashtra, Goa belt, Ratnagiri district of Maharashtra and Goa. So these are the important iron ore mines in India. As regards manganese, the important producing states of manganese are Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Orissa, Karnataka and Andhra. So this belt, Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra and Karnataka. This is the belt which is known for producing manganese. Manganese is an important mineral for producing steel, because nearly 10 kg of manganese is required to manufacture 1 ton of steel. And the industries which use manganese are insecticides, paints, and also for manufacture of bleaching powder, manganese is used. Now we will be studying about the non-ferrous minerals. The reserves of non-ferrous minerals in India is not very satisfactory. In this chapter, we will be studying about the distribution of copper and bauxite among the non-ferrous minerals. Copper is a malleable and ductile metal, and as such we can give it any shape. Also, it is a very good conductor of electricity. Therefore, copper is used extensively in electrical industry, electronic industry and chemical industry. Electrical cables are made of copper. The important copper producing areas in India are in Madhya Pradesh, Balaghat, Rajasthan, Khetri, and in Jharkhand, Singhbhum area. This area, they have copper mines. Bauxite is an important mineral because alumina and aluminium is obtained from bauxite only. Bauxite is also quite strong and very lightweight and is a good conductor also. Bauxite is malleable too, therefore this can also be given any shape as per the requirement. The important bauxite producing areas in India are mostly in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh areas. These are Amarkantak Plateau, Maikar Hills, Katni, Bilaspur. Koraput of Orissa is also an important bauxite deposit area. Now, let's start with the next section, which is of non-metallic mineral. In the non-metallic mineral, we will be studying mica and limestone. Mica is made up of extremely thin sheets or plates which can split easily. The sheets are so thin that even 1,000 sheets can be layered together to form a mica sheet of few centimeters only. Mica comes in various colors like black, green, clear color, red, yellow color or brown. Mica has a low power loss factor, is good insulator, and its resistance to high voltage, and as such mica is extensively used in electric and electronic industries. The main mica producing regions in India are in Jharkhand, the northern belt of Chota Nagpur plateau of Kodarma, Gaya and Hazaribagh. This belt is an important mica producing belt. Rajasthan, Ajmer, this is an important mica producing area, and in Andhra Pradesh, Nellore is also an important mica producing belt. As regards the limestone, this is found in sedimentary rocks composed of calcium or magnesium carbonate. Limestone is also used extensively in cement industry and also in smelting of iron ore in blast furnace because it releases immense heat. Important limestone producing states in India are Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh. So this belt, Rajasthan, MP, Chhattisgarh, Andhra and Karnataka, they are major limestone producing states in India. Let us now study the energy resources. Energy is needed for the domestic and commercial uses like cooking, cleaning, light, heat, driving of vehicle, industries, factories, machineries, etc. The energy resources are categorized into conventional and non-conventional. The conventional resources are firewood, dung cake, coal, petroleum, electricity, gas, etc. Firewood and cattle dung cake alone account for nearly 70% of energy used in India. However, the use of cow dung is also discouraged because it consumes valuable manure which could be used in agriculture otherwise. The non-conventional sources are the new resources such as the solar, wind energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, biogas or atomic energy. We will first do the conventional source of energy, and in the conventional energy resources we will study coal, petroleum, natural gas and electricity. Under electricity we will be doing both hydroelectricity and thermal electricity. Now we'll start with coal. Coal is the most important fossil fuel which is formed due to extreme heat and compression of the organic waste of plant or animal waste over the years. There are variety of, according to the, depending on the degree of compression, depth and time of burial, coal is found in a variety of forms, and these are peat, lignite, bituminous and anthracite in that order of quality. Peat is the lowest quality coal which has very high moisture content and low carbon content and thus low heating capacity. This is formed in swampy areas because of the decaying of the plants. The better quality of coal, next better quality of coal is lignite. However, this also is quite a low grade brown coal which is soft and has very high moisture content and low heating capacity. Lignite is found mainly in Neyveli in Tamil Nadu, this area. Bituminous is the most popular coal for commercial use, which is used in metallurgy industry also for smelting in the blast furnace. The highest and the best quality coal then is the anthracite. In India, coal deposits are mainly in two series of geological rocks. Gondwana deposits, which is the very old deposits or the rock formations of about approximately 200 million years, and then tertiary deposits which are relatively new and 55 million years in age. The important areas of Gondwana deposits where coal mines are found are the Damodar Valley states of West Bengal and Jharkhand, this area. And the important coal mines are Bokaro, Jharia, Rajniganj, etc. The river valleys of Mahanadi, Godavari, Son and Vardha, again this area only, is the area where coal mines of the Gondwana deposits are situated. Among the tertiary deposits, other states of northeastern states, this belt comprising of states of Meghalaya, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland. The second most important energy resource after coal is petroleum or mineral oil. This provides fuel for heat, lighting, lubricants for machinery, raw material for a number of manufacturing industries. Petroleum refineries act as nodal industry around which various industries like synthetic textile, fertilizer or chemical industries are set up. In India, petroleum is mostly found trapped between the non-porous rock layers of anticlines and fault formations. This is a pictorial representation of petroleum being trapped between non-porous rock surfaces in an anticline situation or a dome situation where the folds are being formed. Petroleum is trapped between these two rock layers which are non-porous. Similarly, in case of fault, when there is a crack or breakage between two rock pieces and they glide towards one another, again petroleum may get trapped between two non-porous rock layers. Gas is lighter. Generally, gas is also found in areas where petrol deposits or oil fields are found. Gas being lighter occurs above the petroleum deposits. The important petroleum producing areas in India are Mumbai High in Maharashtra, Ankleshwar in Gujarat, and in Assam the areas are Digboi, Naharkatia and Moran Hugri. These three oil fields of Assam are the important oil fields of India. Next important energy resource is natural gas, which is closely associated with petrol and is found in the oil fields with petrol or separately also. Apart from being used as a source of energy, natural gas is also used as a raw material for various industries like petrochemical industry, in fertilizer industries also. Natural gas has a very low carbon dioxide emission and therefore it is a much preferred fuel and more preferred than petroleum. In India, natural gas is found in Gulf of Cambay area. In Mumbai High has rich reserve of natural gas. Andaman Nicobar Islands are also known to have reserves of natural gas. Also, there is a 1700 kilometer Hazira Vijaypur Jagdishpur cross country natural gas pipeline passing through the states of Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and UP, and it connects fertilizer, power and industrial complexes of western and northern India. This brings us to the last conventional energy resource, which is electricity. Electricity is considered as an index of development. There are two ways of electricity generation. One is known as hydroelectricity and another one is thermal generation. However, once the electricity has been produced, the purpose and the way it serves is just the same. In hydroelectricity, fast flowing water is used to drive the hydro turbine to generate electricity, and this is done in tidal power projects. Whereas in thermal electricity, fossil fuels like coal, petroleum or natural gases are used to drive the turbines, and thus electricity is generated in thermal power plants. Water, which is used for generating electricity in hydro power generation, is a renewable resource, whereas the fossil fuels like coal and petroleum etc., which are used for thermal electricity generation, they are non-renewable resource. We all know the name of some important hydro power project like Bhakra Nangal project, Damodar Valley Corporations, etc. Let's now look into some non-conventional or the new energy resources as an alternative to the conventional ones. The first one among them is nuclear or atomic energy. Here, the structure of atom is altered, which releases immense heat, and it is then used to generate electricity. The raw material used is uranium and thorium, which is available in Jharkhand and also in Aravalli ranges of Rajasthan. The monazite sand of Kerala is also rich in thorium. As regards solar energy, India, being a tropical country, has abundance of bright sunshine which can be tapped for energy production. Solar power plants are being established across the country and are being increasingly popular in rural and urban areas for domestic and commercial purposes. Use of solar energy helps to minimize dependence on firewoods and dung cakes for domestic uses, and they can then be used as manure in agriculture. Now, wind power. India has great potential of wind power. The largest wind farm cluster is located in Tamil Nadu from Nagarcoil to Madurai, and the other states where wind farming is done is Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, these are the south states, then Gujarat, Maharashtra on the western coast, and the Lakshadweep. Biogas is another unconventional energy resource, means vegetation, human and animal waste are used for biogas generation for domestic consumption, mostly in rural areas. The decomposition of organic matter produces gas which has very high thermal efficiency, more than kerosene, charcoal or cow dungs. Gobar gas plant, which uses cow dung, is one such biogas plant. Biogas plants serve dual purpose of energy generation for domestic users. Also, they help to save the cattle dung, which can be then used as manure in the agriculture. India has a long coastline, and the Gulf area of Gujarat and the Gangetic Delta along Sundarbans experience high tides. The oceanic tides are also used for power generation. Floodgate dams are built across inlets. During high tide, water flows into these inlets and gets trapped when the gate closes. However, later on when the tide falls, the trapped water flows back to the sea with great force, and along this they also move the power generating turbines, and thus energy is produced. So, tidal energy is also an important unconventional energy resource. Another important non-conventional energy resource is the geothermal energy. Geo means earth and thermal is heat. So, geothermal energy actually refers to the heat and electricity which is produced by using the heat from interior of the earth. Children, the interior of the earth is extremely hot. Sometimes and in some places where the geothermal gradient is high, high temperature is found at shallow depths of the earth also. In these areas, the groundwater absorbs heat from the rocks and they become very hot. They emerge on the surface of the earth as hot springs. Sometimes, due to the heat, the water converts into steam, and this steam is used to drive the turbines, and accordingly, this electricity is generated. Two such experimental geothermal projects in India are Parvati Valley near Manikarn in Himachal Pradesh and Puga Valley in Ladakh. In the last leg of the chapter, we will study about the conservation of minerals and the energy resources. Children, I am teaching you from my notes, and you have an access to the notes that I am teaching you from through the link in the description box below. Conservation of minerals. Why conservation is required? Because minerals are finite and non-renewable resource. The total volume of workable mineral is only 1% of the Earth's crust, which is insignificant. Also, the geological process of mineral formation is extremely slow. Thus, there is a huge gap between its replenishment and consumption. Also, continued extraction increases the cost of operation, and since the minerals come from the greater depth, the quality also is compromised. So, what measures can be adopted for the conservation of minerals? New technology should be evolved to use low-grade ores at cheaper rates. Recycling of metal is another measure which can be started and done. Then scrap metals and other substitutes should be developed for conservation of the minerals. Now, the conservation of energy resources. Energy is the most basic requirement for economic development. Every sector of the economy, whether agriculture, industry, transport, service, etc., they all depend upon energy resources. Therefore, in order to conserve energy resources and to use them judiciously, we need to develop a sustainable path of energy development, which means conservation on the one hand and development of the alternate and renewable energy resources. There are various measures which we can adopt. For example, we can prevent wastage, we can save electricity, we can use public transport systems, power saving devices, etc. We can all do our own bit and help in conservation of minerals and energy resources. With this, we conclude this chapter. Hope you enjoyed learning. If you like the video, please do like and subscribe to my channel and also share with your friends. Feel free to share your queries and feedback in the comment section below. And yes, don't forget to access the notes of the chapter from the description box. I shall be back again very soon with the next chapter in Geography of Class 10. Thanks for watching. Happy learning!